Yes, but you like that. Let's add a little bit of this. Yeah, that'll do. Man, I've got my notes, and this is probably about the third or fourth attempt at this. A bad sound, shot on my phone, and I was too far away. Had this awesome spot in the woods, but yeah, wasn't happy with it. Well, this is the first upload to YouTube, but probably the third or fourth video. So, look, I've got a little bit of a script that I can work through, but I'll try and keep it between you and me. I used to do a lot of photography. I used to do weddings, products, a lot of work. It was the kind of work that people trusted me, they paid me, and expected me to deliver. And that part of my life was pretty real, and it mattered in a lot of ways. About 2.5 years ago, I moved from Australia to the UK. New country, new systems, new version of myself I thought I needed to be. And somewhere in that shift, I started telling a story that being responsible meant being smaller, quieter, more practical. Photography didn't disappear. I just put it away. And it wasn't a big decision. It wasn't dramatic. I just made it inconvenient. I put things out of reach. I'll give you a fun example. The battery charger for this camera, my main camera, the one I decided to keep, I put that in probably the furthest location from the door, and I ended up using it less and less. The batteries went flat, and I no longer put them in the camera, and I no longer carried it with me. Something I used to do all the time. But I made a change. The small change that I made was taking that battery charger and setting it with an extension cord near the front door. So anytime I wanted to use it, it was there. I just grabbed that battery, slap it in the camera, and go. Usually I'd have like my 35mm on it, but it doesn't really matter what lens I put on it. I just grabbed it and went. And that's only been recent. It's in just before Christmas, so the last 3 weeks. But I've given myself that permission to fire up that passion, to create that creative spark, and that hobby, that meditation that I loved about photography for the longest time. So what that whole series of decisions made me realize is that it isn't really about the cameras. It's not about the gear. It's about how easily I've confused responsibility with some mention of erasure. And I'm sure many of you have done that. You've put something away that you've loved in the best interests of others, in the perception of the best interest of others or yourself. But that little thing, that little hobby, that's your spark that keeps you going. So this channel isn't about going back to how things were. It's about deciding what still deserves to be carried forward. And photography, for me, is that part that I need to carry forward. So thinking out loud, hey, rambling, that's probably another thing. But if you've ever made yourself smaller to survive a transition and you're wondering what you're allowed to reclaim, you're probably in the right place. This is back to the things.